car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Yes, indeed, and we are pleased to have with us the owner of what we call low overhead country. That, of course, would be Frontier Motors. Iven Streckel is here, ready, willing, and certainly more than able to answer any questions that you might have about getting the price of a car or a truck or an SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in. Here's how you go about doing that. You call us, 478-3116, then I connect you to Iven. He answers your question. What could be simpler? Frontier Motors located at 230 Beverly Parkway. Iven is here, as I said, ready for your phone calls, 478-3116. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Don, thanks so much for the introduction, and this is 1370 Talk Radio. We are also, that's live, by the way, like Don said. This means that I am still alive, which is good news. We're not alive on Blab TV, but if you're watching this on Blab TV, this is a pre-recorded show, and we're on satellite and cable. So for those of you out there that are watching this, don't bother calling in, but this is a call-in show, and we can help you with the value of your car. That's what this show is all about. It's talking about the car business a little bit, what's going on nationwide, and also what's going on in our neck of the woods, and how Frontier Motors can help the people in the Pensacola area make sure that when they are in the market for a used or a new car, that they don't make the wrong decision, that they make the right decision, that they buy the right vehicle, and they pay the right price. And we help people all day long. Well, when I say all day long, that's not really true because we're only open from 8:30 till 6, but on our open hours, we help people every hour that we're open, and we help people by giving them free advice. And I know that our goal, obviously, at Frontier Motors, the way that we make money is we sell cars for a living. But what we do at Frontier Motors, we build relationships. And the way to do that is to help a person make sure that they get a good deal, whether they're going to be buying it from us or the dealership or the private individual down the street. So if your neighbor is selling their car, we can help you a couple different ways. Number one, we can tell you if the price that they're asking is the book price or is it the real price. There's a big difference between book price and real price. And I'm getting at, and I'm holding up right now, if you're watching this on TV, the NADA Value Guide. This is the value guide that the bankers in our area use. And a lot of insurance companies also, for replacement purposes, use this NADA guidebook. They do not use the Kelley Blue Book, and they don't use the Edmunds. So when you go online, which I'm pointing to my screen right now, and I type in used car values, I'm going to get an Edmunds and a Kelley Blue Book. I'm not saying not to go there and get an idea. Maybe they're all going to match. Sometimes they're different. But our bankers use the NADA guidebook. Now, if your neighbor is selling a 16 Impala with 10,000 miles on it, and he's asking $20,000 for it, and you call up your banker, and he books it out, and he says, well, it's got a retail value of $22,000 according to book value. Now, how do you know? At that point, you would think, well, my neighbor's asking 20. He says the book value is 22. Sounds like a good deal. I'll take it. But if you call Frontier Motors and I'm telling you that those cars are going through the auction for about $15,000, that means that I can pay the auction fees, pay the shipping, make a profit, and sell it for, let's say, $17,500. Now, your banker would have been wrong at that point, maybe not with the book value, but as far as with what you should pay. I'm able to bring that vehicle back, make a profit, and sell for $17,500. The neighbor's asking $20,000. So what you do is you tell the neighbor, hey, Frontier Motors can get me that same car, if I don't already have it in stock, for $17,500. The other thing we can do for you, two other things, if that's the situation. Number one, I can run, or number two, I should say, I can run a Carfax for you. A Carfax report these days costs about $45 plus tax. I can run the Carfax and the Auto Check, which is the second largest provider of history reports in the nation, at no charge for you. It'll tell you where the car came from, how many titles has been issued, has the car been in an accident, are there any issues with the car, is it a lemon law buyback, is it a flood damage vehicle, has it a salvage title. These are all things that at Carfax can tell me. They're they get very detailed, and I like running the Carfax reports because a lot of times they also had the maintenance report. You know, Don, the old guys, remember, like you?
Mm-hmm. I do remember us.
Maybe you don't remember, maybe your dad this, maybe not you, but I remember my dad used to have a little book in the glove box of his car.
My father did too.
And they would write down all the oil changes,
all the mileage, all the gas, everything.
Every little thing. I never understood why gas mileage was going to be a big deal, because maybe just to see if he's getting worse or better at gas mileage. But they kept a log, an entry. Now, before Carfax is done, that was gone. I mean, very rarely would I ever get a car in trade that had the books and records. Or where the old man had the little detailed writing for every oil change he's ever done. I thought that was cool. When we got that, we always gave that to the next customer because it builded value. It would build value in that vehicle, that the gentleman had the oil change meticulously every 3,000 miles and had proof of that. Not just tell you that. Well, those days are gone, but electronically now they're back, because the Carfax reports on a lot of places, not just the car dealerships, all the car dealerships just about will now have the service records on the Carfax report. So if you go over to Sandy Sansing Chevrolet, for example, and get your oil change, well, guess what? The next day it pops up on a Carfax that you were there. And they'll also tell you if you had a safety check done or if the car got washed or whatever. Pretty much everything you've done. I guess nothing's secret anymore. I don't know why you want to hide that anyways. I think that's good stuff to know. Even places like Pep Boys now shows up on the Carfax reports. The only one that won't show up is if you do your own oil changes. So I still urge you to keep records and write them in a book if you're not going to use anybody else. I'm not sure if anybody, Don, do you do your own oil changes? I know that your hands were kind of dirty this morning. That's not from changing oil, is it?
No, I don't change my oil, that's for sure.
All right. So anyways, folks, you get the drift of what we do at Frontier Motors. It's not all about selling cars. It's making sure that we provide a lot of ammunition for you, that when you are in the market for a car, that you don't pay too much. Now, a couple of other things that we can do for you at Frontier Motors. Number one, I keep saying number one. It's actually like number 10. But if you get into an accident, the value of your vehicle will be compromised if it's a moderate or a major accident. Don, I had somebody in the dealership the other day say, hey, I got a 10-year-old car and the front bumper had to be replaced. And they wanted a diminished value because they listened to this radio show. And I'm telling you, folks, I can give you a letter of diminished value. But Don, if you smashed up your little Mitsubishi, and let's say it was $400 damage, that's really going to show up as a minor infraction on the history report. I can't give you any money for that. But let's say somebody really rammed you hard. The airbags went off. Now you got $7,000 worth of damage. And Don, I don't think your vehicle is probably worth more than $9,000
at the most.
So, but they didn't total it. They're going to fix it. Now you have what we call diminished value. Because Don, if I'm going to appraise that car, people sometimes get nervous about an accident. Don't ask me why, because there's a lot of great body shops in Pensacola. A lot of them that do a really good job. And I always kind of wonder when a person says, I'm not buying that car, it's been an accident. Well, Don, if your car had 100, how many miles on your car about?
About 115,000.
You got 115,000 miles on your car. If your car got into a bad accident, Don, you would have brand new parts on that used car. If the motor got damaged, they put a new motor in, they put a new air conditioner in, they put a new radiator in, a new sub-support, all the wiring, all the stuff that goes with it is going to be brand new. So you would think the value of your car was going to go up because you got 5,000 new parts in it. That's not the way life works. You get into an accident, it says major accident reported on the history report. You're going to be very leery about buying that car. And if you are going to buy it, it's because you're going to buy it cheaper, for less money. And I'm going to give you a letter of diminished value so you can go after your insurance company or the other person's insurance company and get compensated for that, because I'm going to be appraising your car. It could be anywhere as much as $5,000 or $6,000 less if it's an expensive car. Imagine if you had a $50,000 Corvette that ran into a $30,000 repair situation. That car could have a compromised value of $7,000 or $8,000. So just remember that, folks. And if you're listening to this, maybe you don't need it. Your car's running fine. But maybe a friend or relative gets into an accident tomorrow. Say, see those guys at Frontier Motors. They will help you get a little bit of extra money from the insurance company, as you should. This is not a rip-off situation. Your car, maybe not right now because you're going to keep it. But even in 2 years from now, if I pull that history report that says major damage reported, I'm going to nick you for a little bit of money because I'm going to report that to the next owner that buys that car, if they will even buy that car. So these are things that are real important.
If you would like to ask a question of Iven Streckel, give us a call, 478-3116. He's the owner of Frontier Motors at 230 Beverly Parkway. This is the Frontier Motor Show here on Talk at 10 on News Talk 1370 WCOA Pensacola. We'd be happy to hear from you. 478-3116.
Don, this is not a trick question, but do you know the number one selling vehicle in the United States last month? And I'm going to make this a little more difficult because last time you got the answer.
Yeah, because I've answered Ford F-150 for the last 10 years.
Don and I have been doing this radio show for 20 years, and he gets that one all the time. But name the number one, the number two, and the number three top-selling vehicles last month in the United States.
Geez, I'm going to go with the Ford F-150, the Chevrolet Silverado, and the Dodge Ram.
Did I give you the answer?
It's uncanny, isn't it?
Did I give you the answer? Don got it again. Folks, the number 1, 2, and 3 vehicle selling in the United States for the last couple of years have been the biggest gas guzzlers that we have, which is a Ford, a full-size Chevy pickup truck, and a Ram pickup truck. Really, really interesting. You know, I'm glad the fuel is only $2.20 a gallon. And I pulled a couple of motorcycles this weekend over to Bike Week in Daytona, which was kind of a fun thing to do. And this motorcycle trailer that I was pulling wasn't that heavy. It was about 6,000 pounds. And folks, I'm unhappy to report, and I'm not going to say the vehicle that I was towing it with. Let's just say that it was a pickup truck. That I did check the fuel mileage twice, there and back. I still do it the old-fashioned way. I didn't use a little computer. The computer was telling me I was getting 13.9 miles a gallon, which I thought was a little weak. But when I did it manually, the first time I got 9.3. The second time I got 8.6. What's that all about? Can you imagine 8.6 miles a gallon? That's awful. I've got a 35-foot motorhome on the lot that we're selling that gets better gas mileage than this. I can't, and I did it right. I know how to, I used my calculator and I didn't do it the old-fashioned way. So I did cheat. So it's interesting that fuel mileage, what I'm getting at, folks, is that fuel mileage is not the top concern anymore. I very rarely have people ask me, well, what's the gas mileage anymore? Now, when there were, years ago, what was that, about 5 or 6 years ago, when the fuel prices were going up to like $3.50, $3.99, then they crept to $4 and $4.50, and there were rumors that it might end up at $8 a gallon, which is about what they're paying in Europe. And guess what happened? The Suburbans and the pickup trucks went so far down in value. I had to sell a lot of these at a loss. And the Priuses and the electric cars went up in value. Well, fast forward 6 years into the future, it's the opposite. The Priuses are a bargain right now because there's not a lot of Priuses being sold. They get 50 miles a gallon, but nobody cares. F-150, number 1, Chevy Silverado, number 2, and the Ram pickup truck, number 3. So very interesting. There are some gas miser cars. The number 8 one was a Corolla that gets 40 miles a gallon. The Honda Civic was number 9. The Honda CRV. The smaller SUVs were in there. The Nissan Rogue was number 4. The CRV and the Ford Escape were 3, 4, and 5. So the small SUVs are making a big hit. Frontier Motors is going on 21 years in business, folks. It's the first time you've ever watched this show. We provide a lot of help for you, a lot of advice when you're in the car market. The best thing I can help you with is if you're going to buy a brand new car, and 17.5 million people bought brand new cars. I always kind of make fun of Don because I think that, our whole claim to fame at Frontier Motors and doing this radio show is to get the word out that we save you a bunch of money by buying a car that might be 6 or 7 months old. And I've got cars on the lot that have 10. I got a Honda Odyssey with 10 miles on it. I mean, we've got a lot of cars like this that have such low miles on it. And Consumers Reports finally put into writing last year things that I've been talking about at Frontier Motors for years, that the first year depreciation on a new car is 27%. I said 27%. A $35,000 car loses $9,200 in the first year. That's where we come in. Buy that car from us, 1 year old. Even if I mark it up $2,000 or $3,000, I'm making money, and you're still saving $6,000 to $7,000 over the price of a brand new one. But 17.5 million people last year, a new record, which broke the old record for 2015, bought brand new cars. So how can I help you if you're going to buy a brand new car? Well, one way I can help you is Consumers Reports charges $14 for an invoice, and they say they save people thousands of dollars if you know what the invoice of a car is, which is dealer cost. I got a couple kickbacks at the end. I've got that book that shows dealer invoices at no charge at Frontier Motors. So if you are going to buy a brand new car, we can tell you pretty much what the Dealer paid for that car. That helps you negotiate a deal. Number two, if you have a trade-in, we're going to separate the trade-in and tell you what we will write you a check for that car. Wouldn't that be nice to know? If I tell you I'll write you a check for $20,000 for your trade-in, and you're going to do business with a dealer up the road in Car City, and they tell you we're going to give you $18,000 for a trade-in, you say, no. That is not going to work. Frontier Motors already told me, without me even buying a car from them, they'll give me $20,000. If I'm going to buy a car from you, Mr. Dealer, I should get at least $21,000 or $22,000. If I'm going to be doing business with you, I should get more money for my trade-in, not less. So what we can do is give you the value of the trade-in. We can tell you what to pay. We can also tell you what Consumers Report says about the car that you're looking at. And I just got my new Consumers Reports. This is only about a week old, and it's the car report. It only comes out once a year, and we got it last month. It has the best and the worst, and it has the best brands to buy. Now, brand is not just reliable. Brand, that would be like a Chevrolet, a Toyota. That's a brand. A make would be which particular model that is. Like a Avalon would be the make, and then the Touring would be the model. So it goes into detail, but I think you catch my drift. The number one car out there right now is Audi. They rated Audi the best overall car out there. That's not for reliability only. That's for roadability, how it drives, how it stops, safety features, customer/owner satisfaction, and, of course, reliability, all put into one pot, stirred around. Who came up number one? Audi. And we're lucky enough to have a brand new Audi dealership, a Sonic Audi dealership, that's going to go here up on 29. They're about halfway done. It looked like the last time I drove past the building. And I would think, venture to guess, probably in 5 or 6 months, they're going to be cranking brand new Audis out of there. And that's great for us. I don't sell brand new Audis, but I use their service department. And every car that I sell, the service department in Pensacola, they open their arms to a car, whether it be purchased from Frontier or that particular dealership, because they make a lot of money on service. So don't ever be embarrassed to buy a car from a non-franchise dealership thinking you're going to get worse service. They're making an average of $150 an hour to work on your car, even under warranty. So if you go into warranty, the dealership doesn't fix the car for free. The manufacturer reimburses the dealership. And they're saying, come on in. I'm getting $150 an hour to work on your car. Heck, they're going to try to find things wrong with it. Porsche is number two. Kind of interesting. Never would think that Porsche would be number two. They love Porsche. BMW number three, another kind of a surprise. BMW on the reliability standpoint is just average. But on customer satisfaction, owner satisfaction, way up. And 100% of BMWs are recommended by Consumers Reports, as is Porsche. Porsche has 100% of their cars. There's only 3 makes that have 100% of their cars, all of them recommended by Consumers Reports, and that is Mazda and BMW and Porsche. Now, how did Mazda get in that kick? Who thinks of Mazda? I mean, Mazda? Really? I think of Honda, Toyota, Lexus, Nissan, even Mitsubishi.
Ooh, good.
Above Mazda.
Yeah.
But that's not the way it works, man. Mazda's a great car, folks. I think Sandy Sansing has the Mazda franchise. Kia was number 6. Subaru was number 5. Lexus was number 4. Lexus still number 1 for reliability. They didn't care for the Lexus as much on some of the roadability because the Consumer Reports, they had that road and track thing where they do the S corners and stuff. And, the Lexus obviously is more of a luxury car meant for smooth ride. It doesn't handle as good as a BMW and Porsche. That's probably why Porsche got number 2. But it's nice to know that there's a dealership in Pensacola that you can go to that will give you that advice. Now, if I am, let's take one on the bottom, Fiat. I can pick on Fiat down because there's not a local Fiat dealership.
Good.
Fiat was the worst one. Number 31 out of 31. Now, when you go to a Fiat dealership, number 1, they're not going to tell you that. Number 2, they're going to kind of key on their strengths. Fiat's a fun car to drive. I've driven a Fiat. They're fun. You can park them anywhere. They're like a little tennis shoe. It doesn't really matter. They get 35 miles a gallon. But reliability and owner satisfaction in the toilet. Now, when you go there, they're going to talk you into their car. And no matter what manufacturer you go to, their salespeople have been sent to school to tell you all about why their car is the greatest car on the planet. And you would expect that. If you're going to go to a Chevy dealership, they're going to tell you why the Chevy is better than the Ford. And let's use a truck. Chevy truck. Then you go across the street to the Ford dealership. That salesman is going to tell you, my F-150 is way better. Why do we sell almost twice as many F-150s as Chevys? If the Chevy's a better truck, why are we outselling them? So that's their spiel. Then you go across the street to the Ram dealership. They're going to tell you, check this Ram out. It has the best drive and ride of any of the big pickup trucks. It's the quietest. It pulls the most. They have all kinds of reasons. So now you're completely confused. Well, you come to Frontier Motors. I've got the Ford, the Chevy, and the Ram. Which one do you want? Test drive them all. You meet one salesman. You can drive all three. And what about a Toyota? What if you want to drive a Tundra too? Now you got to go up to Bob Tyler and look at their Tundra. Now that's 4 big trucks. Now what about a Nissan Titan? You got one more in the mix, and you got to go to Sandy Sansing and drive. Now you've met 5 salesmen to test drive 5 different trucks. Come to Frontier Motors. We have them all. You meet one person, or it could be a female or a male, and you can test drive either one you want. And you can take them out for more than an hour, all at one dealership. And then we can compare pricing. Let's say they're all 2016 models. Which one's a better price? Some of them depreciate more than others, which make them a better deal on the used car market. Obviously, the vehicle that depreciates the most is the best deal when you're buying it used. A lot of people say, well, I don't want a car with bad depreciation. You don't if you're buying it new. But if you're buying it used, you get a better deal if it has awful depreciation. And the Ram truck is one of them that I'm talking about. The Ram, out of all 3 of them, depreciate faster than the Chevy or the Ford. So therefore, I can buy, if they're all the same price brand new, which I don't think they are, I'm not going to have time during the show to look them all up. But let's just say hypothetically, they're all brand new, $50,000. Well, they don't all depreciate what Consumers Report says, which is 27% on the average. One might depreciate 20%, one might depreciate 30%. So the one that depreciates 30% is going to be a better deal for you because I'm buying that car for less money. And that's why I talked about Mazda. You know, Mazda being one of the top brands and the only other brand other than Porsche and BMW that every single car they sell is recommended by Consumers Reports. And you have to have a very good safety rating, which we hardly ever talk about, to make the Consumers Reports list. If it has a bad safety rating, it ain't going to make the cut. And I've been talking about this for 20 years, that we save you money over the franchise dealerships because we don't have a mausoleum. Our whole claim to fame at Frontier Motors is keep the overhead low. We don't have an indoor showroom. You can't get a massage when you come in. We don't have a restaurant. You know, we've got water and a soda machine. You got to pay for your own because I'm trying to keep the overhead as low as possible so I can sell quality vehicles with low miles, with a lot of equipment that are in very good condition for less money than the franchise dealerships. And really, they're my competition. It's not the little cars, the car lots on Palafox that have 30 or 40 cars. They're not really our competition. Our competition are the new car dealerships and their new car departments and their used car departments. And when we talk about, vehicles that we have on the lot that are like new, people always say the first thing that out of someone's mouth is that I got a Honda Odyssey on the lot with 10 miles on it. Where would you get that? I've got an Avalon on the lot that has 15 miles on it. How about a Toyota Highlander with 300 miles on it? A GMC 1500 four-wheel drive pickup truck with 1,800 miles on it. What I do is I have to go all over the South to find these cars. And I will guarantee that the car has not been a flood-damaged car, that they're not a lemon law buyback, they're not a salvage title vehicle. And the reason I can guarantee those, because when I buy them at the auction will guarantee those cars that they will be disclosed if you have an issue with that, with the car. And one thing I do have to put a last check to that, folks, is that you have to be careful when you purchase a car as far as an accident is concerned. And this is true whether you're buying it from a private individual or you're buying it from a dealership. A dealership and a private individual do not have to tell you if the car's been in an accident. They can't legally lie to you if they know it, but they don't have to tell you. So it's buyer beware. So we check all of our cars out when we buy them, like this car with 10 miles on. I make sure there's no paint work and there's no issues. Don, do we have a call?
This is John.
Hey, John, thanks for calling the Frontier Motor Show. How can we help you?
Yes, sir. I just kind of like maybe get a second opinion.
Okay.
We have a 2003 Ford F-250 that we bought brand new in 2003
Okay.
to tow a travel trailer with,
Okay.
which we was pleased with it. It got about 70,000 miles to that point. Then I've spent another $11,000 in repairs on a diesel truck. I've had like EGR coolers, turbo, a high-pressure oil pump, all going out. But now it's got 114,000, which to me is very low for a 03 diesel. But my wife keeps saying, well, we need to trade it in. I said, well, it's paid for, and a new one runs about $60,000. I just wonder what your opinion would be about keeping something like that, or knowing the history of that 6.0 diesel truck engine that we didn't realize had so much trouble with it.
Yeah, they did, John, and I appreciate you calling the show. That's a very good question. And I am on your side. I would keep the truck. I wouldn't buy a new one or a used one. You got all of the problems that they had with the 2003 model, which is the first year. For a short portion of the 2003 Ford trucks, they made the 7.3 and the 6-liter. Of course, everybody wanted the 7.3, and then when they flipped over the 6, you're right, it was a piece of crap. And you're not the only one that I've ever talked to that had to put $10,000 or $11,000 in that truck, and it's really too bad that Ford didn't stand behind him, because I would say the higher percentage of those trucks in the 2003 and 4 model year had the same issues that you've already replaced. But based on the fact you've replaced all those things, keep the truck, John.
Okay, I appreciate it. I'm glad you said that, because my wife was pushing. I said, look, we're to be retired, and a new one is like $20,000-$30,000 more than what we paid for this one in 03. Yeah,
it's a hard pill to swallow when you got to upgrade and spend. Your truck is probably going to be worth, $10,000 if you're lucky, and you're going to have to pay $50,000 to upgrade. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. Okay, I appreciate it. Like I say, that we use it mainly for towing. I got another older car that we use for running around that town and all that, so it's not like we're going to put that many miles on it.
All right, John, thanks for calling the show. We've only got a couple of minutes left, so I do appreciate it. And, one of the things that we talk about is from experience, folks. This is not from reading books, but, I sold those trucks back in 2003. I sold them used. We sold trucks in 2002. We started in 1996 at Frontier Motors. So what we have is a lot of experience about which car is a good car and a bad car, not just what Consumers Report says, because there are some things that I have seen in Consumers Reports that I did not disagree with, that I disagreed with. For example, years ago, they did not recommend the Grand Cherokee, one of our best-selling SUVs. For years and years, they never recommended it. I didn't have that many issues with it. Once in a while, you'd have a rear end go out or something like that, but that's normal. All vehicles, once they get miles on them, have issues like that. But so I can help you with the experience that we have at Frontier Motors to make sure that when you're in the market for a used car, especially if it's an older used car and that's all you can afford, that you're going to get a good car, not just a good price. Price isn't everything. A lot of things that we always talk about the show is that you can't look in a book and say, this is what a car is worth. I lost a deal from one individual about 2 months ago where the banker told him that a Honda Civic that I had was worth $4,500. Well, we sold that vehicle for $6,000 because the book was wrong. So that's why you call us to find out if the books are right or wrong. We are the dealership that gives you free advice. I've only got a minute left, so we want to let you know that you can go to Facebook, like us on Facebook, please. And also, if you want to view this, and John, if you're still listening, if your wife doesn't believe what I said, you can pull it up on YouTube. This show will be on there in a couple of days, and you can see that you didn't make that up when I told you to keep that truck, save the money. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Looking for the best car, SUV, or truck? Guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.